Today we're going to talk about how to teach Unit 4, Money, 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 in the Literacy ENP curriculum. You'll remember that we've already written our lesson plan. So I have walked into the classroom with all of my materials. I have the money that we're going to look at. I have enough copies of the game for each team of 4 to have a copy. I have my questions and my buzzer for the game show. And I have my paycheck and the book that we're going to read. It can't have gone anywhere since the last time I was standing here 2 minutes ago. Oh, here it is. Book that we're going to read. Okay, so when my students first come into the classroom, I just greet them and talk a little bit about what's transpired between the time we last saw each other and today. This morning when I was visiting with my class, I talked about the big rainstorm that we had, and we talked about the word monsoon. Once everybody's in, or most people are in, we write our today is on the board. And then I direct their attention to what we're going to talk about today. We always start with our homework review. So I ask them to take out their workbooks and I say, did anybody have any trouble on the homework? Let's take a look at our homework, whatever that was. And I usually just spot check. I'll ask a student, would you read number 5 on exercise C? What did somebody else? Exercise D, a question or two. If there's something that was a particular issue for several students, we will address it right then before we move on to new material. If you're one of those teachers who is finding you have a lot of extra time and you want something to fill up more time, the homework review could be done together in class, the entire assignment. I usually don't do that because I have a lot of things to cover and not as much time, but that's an option if you need more to do with your class. So then we open our books to our new material, and it will tell you exactly what to do. I have had on the table when my students came in the things that I listed for my opening activity. I always try to have something out that's interesting for them. So on the table I'm going to have, remember, the money, the different kinds of money that we use here in the U.S. So they have a chance to look at it and think about it and talk about it as they're coming in and getting seated. So I will start with saying, what's on your table? What do you do with this? Has anybody ever seen this? That kind of thing, to get some discussion going. If you need to fill more time, you can extend the activity by talking about how in the United States it's typical. We have a tradition of putting presidents and important people on our money, and you can talk about them as much as you want to. On your page 52, it tells you exactly how to discuss this picture. So I'm going to say, look at this picture, what's happening? I'm going going to talk to them about thought bubbles versus speech bubbles. And to notice in the picture, is he thinking? Is he talking? Who's talking? Who's thinking? How do you know? And then I'm going to show them a paycheck. Notice that I'm following the directions here in my lesson plan guide. It says display some money, show your paycheck. What is this? Does anybody get this? What do you get it for? Etc. What do you do with it after you get it? So we're going to talk about all of those things before we move on to the next page. On the next page, we're going to look at the picture dictionary, and I'm going to do exactly what it tells me to do in my lesson plan, my teacher's guide. I'm going to read them the word. They're going to point to it as I read it. Then they're going to repeat it. On activity A, there's some little headphones. So that tells me I'm going to go to the back of my teacher's manual and read them the script that goes with this listening activity. After we've talked a little bit about money, I'm going to put up a T-chart. We're going to talk about coins and bills. I'm going to let them tell me the names of the coins. So I'll ask, look at the coins and bills on the table. What do you see? Hopefully they're going to generate the vocabulary. Okay? And we're going to put them on our T-chart. Now again, I'm wanting my students to speak, so I'm asking them to generate the vocabulary. If you want to put these on sticky notes and pass them out and say bring them up and put them here, that's another way to do that. I might also add a symbol. We're definitely going to talk about what this symbol means and what this symbol means versus the words, what this symbol means, okay? Because that's a big part of money, is being able to write it in symbolic form. On the next page, we're going to look at the picture. I'm going to follow the directions in my teacher's guide that tells me how to discuss this picture. I'm going to let my students read the sentences down here. And together we're going to answer the questions, yes or no. On the picture dictionary, we're going to look at the pictures that they have here. We're going to match them to the real object. I also have a PDF that has these. Thank you, Bernie, for sending these to me. If you want these, you can email me and I'll send them to you through the email. They're great to cut up and let the students use for pretend money. In the office we have this kind of money. Don't forget, we have many, many resources here in the office. All you got to do is come and take a look at them or ask me about them. We want you to have the things that you need to teach your lesson. Okay, so after we've read and talked about the symbols and the words for these different denominations of coins and bills, we're going to play game show. And here are my game show questions. Remember when we were doing our planning, we talked about what some good questions would be. I'm going to say 1 cent is a, I've got my 2 teams. 5 cents is a, and when they've answered all those, I'm going to turn it around and say a nickel is how much? Okay, so that's getting them up out of their seat, getting them involved, reinforcing the vocabulary. All right, after we've done that a few times, we're going to move to page 56. This is the vocabulary of numbers from 60 to 100. And I'm probably going to point out how when you write a number in words versus a symbol, that you use a hyphen. I'm going to use the word hyphen, and I'm going to show them what it looks like. And I might even write it on the board. This is called a hyphen, and it's used when you write numbers. I'm going to look and see my little headphones here, so I know I need to read from a script. So we're going to look at that. I will read them. They'll do the activity. And then we may go back and check it together. And I'll answer any questions that they had about problems that they had with it. Now, I didn't put this in my lesson plans because I didn't think I'd have time for it. But remember, you always have flashcards. So you can give a table a set of these and they can work together on them. You can hand them out individually and each person can make their own and take them home with them so they have some vocabulary words to practice until they come back to class again the next day. So that might be a good place to put that. Our next activity, we're going to count the money and write the money in numbers and in words. So here is your writing portion of this lesson. Then we're going to do our board game, which is spin, spend, spend. They are practicing counting, they're practicing speaking, they're practicing subtracting and addition, and they're practicing learning places in the community. So here's the board game. They're going to the video store, the gas station, the laundromat, the supermarket. You can use anything for a marker for your students. You can use toys. Maybe my students are going to be little people. Erasers are good because there are lots of different colors. So somebody can be the green one and somebody can be the orange one. I'm going to use my little leftover cars from my teacher training. So everybody's going to get a car to drive around their game board. But it's up to you what you'd like to use. It doesn't matter as long as it's distinguishable so each person knows which one's theirs. Remember how to flip the coin. And if it's, I think it says the opposite of what I usually do. I usually give heads 2 and tails 1, but here in your teacher's guide it says 2 spaces for tails and 1 for heads. It doesn't matter. long as you're consistent. Everybody knows whichever one it lands on, that's how many spaces they move. I'm going to give my students an index card that says $100. Here's $100 for you to play this game with. And so then they can write on their card as they move around and subtract or add, so they don't have to try to carry the number in their head. They're getting to practice their writing and their addition and their subtraction skills. I actually played this with one of my level 1 classes when we were doing review at the very beginning of the year, and they loved it. It was lots of fun. And it gives an opportunity for more extended conversation as well. Talk about, do you ever go to the video store? Do you have a video store in your neighborhood? What do you do there? You know, laundromat, do you do your laundry at your house? Do you go out to do your laundry? Lots of great conversation can go on around this board game besides just playing the game. So, extend it as much as you need to fill your time. Again, don't forget your vocabulary cards. If you want something else to do, if you need another activity to fill up time, there's vocabulary cards for places in the community as well as for money. So, after we've played the board game, we're going to come back together and we're going to talk about the experience we had of playing the board game. Who won, who lost, what happened, all that fun stuff. Then I would probably read our story, which is Just Saving My Money. Remember, you are modeling how they can read to their children. And there are many little critter books, and they're all simple enough that most of our students can use them to read to their own children at home. If you still need something to fill your time, here's another great book. It's called Bunny Money, and it was written by Rosemary Wells. I love Rosemary Wells books. And you can copy this on a copier and make money for you to use for your games as well. Here's a book that's a little more sophisticated. It's called Lots and Lots of Coins. And it actually talks about the history of money, different kinds of things. Now, you want to paraphrase for your literacy students. You're probably not going to read it word for word, but it's got a lot of great information in here about the original things that were used for money, what happens at the mint when they print money, saving. This little boy wants to save his money. So lots of great concepts and some really good pictures as well. Then I'm going to say, for your extra practice, we're going to do workbook pages 36 through 38, and I always open my workbook and look at those pages and tell my students, oh, remember today when we talked about writing words for denominations of money? They're asking you to match. No, I'm just giving them a brief overview of what I expect them to do. Oh, this is like when we played the game show. They're asking you to identify the coin and its amount. So that's your homework for this week. And then I will tell them if there's anything else I expect from them besides the homework for the next lesson. I'll ask if they have any questions. Does everybody understand what to do on the homework? And then hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time. I'm so glad you came.